What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to a rather happy Anfield Agenda, Sunday Late Night Agenda. That's a bit wordy, isn't it? Let's just say you're very welcome along to tonight's Late Night Agenda. That works a bit better, I think. So, sorry I was a little bit late. I was just typing out the poll and getting that going in the chat. We're asking you, has today's win changed your view on wherever you are with Arne Slot? So, the poll answers are, yes, I'm now slot in. No, I'm still slot out. Or I was always slot in. So I think they covered all the options. I mean, I doubt there's anybody who's gone from slot in to slot out based off today, but maybe you've gone the other way. So we're running a poll in our WhatsApp as well with the same question. So we'll see if we can tally up the answers. I mean, let me have a quick look into the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp and I'll tell you kind of where they're at in there with it. One sec. Right, WhatsApp questions. So, majority are still slot out, to be honest. In WhatsApp, the majority are still slot out. There are still people supportive of the manager, but still far more slot out in the WhatsApp anyway. But look, for me, it hasn't changed anything, but it is a great first step. You know, I want to say that. I'm way happier sitting here talking to you guys tonight after a win than I would have been after a loss. But that being said, we do have to take into account the opposition that we played today and how bad they are at this moment in time. So, but look, like I said, I'll take it. A win is a win is a win. GS Warrior, Golden State Warrior asked me, have I changed my mind on slot? No, I haven't. It's going to take more than today. It's going to take more than Wednesday. It's going to take a consistent spell of us looking more like ourselves and better. So, yeah, no, I'm still, on the side that I think the manager needs to go. But I ain't going to be toxic about it. I'm just going to, bide my time, sit here and keep hoping for wins like I did today. Loads of people this week were saying that they wanted us to lose so the manager could go. I'll never ever sit here and say I want Liverpool to lose. Never. So I couldn't bring myself to that. So I was happy with the win today. That's what I wanted. But there wasn't enough there to me to convince me. But it was a better performance, especially defensively. I want to say we were much, much more sturdy defensively today. Whatever way we dress this up, to go away from home in the Premier League and not concede a single shot on target, that deserves some credit. So, we've been quite critical of Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate and the back four. Well, today let's give some of them their flowers because I thought with Joe Gomez in there, we looked a different outfit at the back. Yes, West Ham aren't high flyers, but that doesn't matter. We needed to do a job. We did it today. Nottingham Forest weren't high flying when they came to Anfield and beat us by 3. PSV Eindhoven shouldn't be coming and beating us by 3. So today's a good day. Any day Liverpool win is a good day. Livingstone said, like Craig said earlier, if we go back to back, usual poor team selection on Wednesday, then we'll know. Exactly, bro. Exactly. That's a really good point. Now, if you're expecting Salah not to play on Wednesday, I think you're going to be disappointed. That being said, there is a world where WIRTZ is starting to look better now. So, the manager rotated Salah today, and I think that's fair. He's done it with Ekitike before, he's done it with WIRTZ before, and today it was Salah's turn. Now, Mo has to respond to this. Mo has to make sure that he comes back in if he starts on Wednesday and performs, just like Konate did today, just like Virgil did today. Today, I also hope is the start of Florian Wirtz announcing himself to the Premier League because that was a really good performance today from him. And he wasn't on his own. There was some good performances all around there today. But ultimately, again, we do have to realise the opponents weren't great. Hate to ask because he should be able to rest in peace, but did we sing Jota song at 20? And if not, what does it mean? So I don't know the answer to that because I watch all the games on mute and I haven't watched the back yet. So somebody else will have to give you the answer on that one. Yeah, I don't know is the honest answer, mate. Sorry, Matt. But we will get an answer for you, dude. Were we better with or without Mo in the starting 11? I don't think it's going to be as simple as saying we were better with or without Mo. And here's why. I think context is important. So if Mohamed Salah plays on Wednesday and Joe Gomez stays at right back, I think we'll see a better Mohamed Salah. I think the fact that Joe was there today, a natural defensive player, gave us more stability on the right side in general. So whether it was Mo, whether it was Wirtz, whoever was on the right-hand side, I think today we just look better because Joe was there. So if Mo comes in on Wednesday I'm expecting kind of the same thing, us to still look bit more solid on that right-hand side because, Joe played a really good game today. Devon said, it's scary that it's to slot so many losses to get back to basics. Hints of stubbornness from them. No egos in Liverpool. Look, there's always going to be stubbornness from managers. Managers are stubborn creatures. They don't. I suppose they'll say they don't get to where they are without having a bit of a stubborn streak in them. But I've no problem with stubbornness. But I have got a problem with cutting your nose off to spite your face around the likes of Fede Chiesa. So yeah, that is beyond stubborn for me. That's an agenda at this point about Chiesa. The legend, gutted with the result. Do you know, I was thinking about how I was going to approach this because I knew there'd be some Arsenal and Chelsea fans in the chat. And I watched the second half of the game. I haven't seen Caicedo's challenge yet. I've only seen a still image of it. But from what I can gather, nobody really has too many complaints about that red card. That being said, hand on heart, mate, I think you would have lost that game if Chelsea had had their full complement. Now, it's not down to you that, Caicedo got himself sent off. That's not Arsenal's fault. But I think coming from a goal down, leaving with a point, I wouldn't be too annoyed with it if I was an Arsenal fan. You'd be somewhat disappointed because you could have won that right at the end. Gyökeres had the ball taken off his head where that probably would have been the winner. But look, Arsenal are still sitting pretty on the top of the league. So, as you're an Arsenal fan, mate, and I think you'd be all right with that overall. You beat Bayern Munich midweek, got a draw against Chelsea. That's another tough away fixture out of the way as well. And you're ticking these off on your way. I remember last year when we won the league, we were picking off these points away and wins away. And I'm sitting here at home almost with the calendar going, check, that's that away task done. That's this one done. So I take it as a good sign that you're feeling as an Arsenal fan, that you're feeling a bit downbeat after not winning there, because that shows you where your team is at. Town said, Craig, who would you take out to accommodate Salah? So, honestly, this is what I do to put Salah in. I put WIRTZ onto the left, drop Gakpo, put Salah on the right. That's what I do. So I go WIRTZ left. Still unsure on the central one because you could make a very good argument to go with either of the strikers in the centre. Isak got off the mark today. Do you double down and hope that he can get another one and then the confidence really starts to build? Or do you put Hugo on, rest up Isak a little bit, put him in against Leeds away? I'd probably edge to playing Isak. And I think it's unkind on Ekitike for me saying this because Ekitike could absolutely justify starting. So for me, I'd probably go what I said. Right-hand side Salah, central striker Isak, and I would go left WIRTZ. And if it's not working with WIRTZ, then maybe you throw in Ekitike or something. But look, today for me, WIRTZ was all over the place in a good way. I mean, he covered the whole pitch. His touch map was sensational, so he didn't really stick to one position. So maybe, we can have some joy that way as well. It's going to be interesting. I think we got a bit of a hint from the substitutions he made today, where his head's at with it. So I do expect that he took off Isak. A lot of people were disappointed with the two substitutions the manager made today, taking off Isak and WIRTZ. I totally understood them because you've got two players who are coming back from knocks or niggles, and you don't want to overwork them and you want to make sure that they're fit. So I personally had no problem with the substitutions you made today. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Not really sure what to expect on Wednesday, but you would hope that this would start to build a bit more confidence. I mean, Sunderland they're going to come and have a go. We know that. They're a very ballsy team, and I mean that in a complimentary way. They're not going to sit back, so they're going to come and have a go. They've had a great start to the Premier League. Good win this weekend coming from behind. So yeah, if we can do the job on Wednesday, then we head to Leeds at the weekend. Look, I said all week, we need 3 wins. We really do, to keep pushing us up that league table. We're currently 8th, and that's certainly better than 12th. We're on 0 goal difference, just behind United by, I think, 1 goal, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we need to start building to get ourselves back into that top 4 now, and that has to start with another win on Wednesday. Livingstone said, I missed most of the game, but seeing a good few people saying they're still not happy with the performance. That's probably fair. I'm happy we won, as I always say when we win. But I do understand what people are saying about the performance, because there's still not much spark to the team. There's still not much life in this team. It still feels a little bit dreary, if that makes sense. But how can you win 2-0 away from home and not be happy with it? I've seen some people moaning about it, and I don't get that, because, we've been on the back of 3 losses. I remember what I felt sitting here last week talking to you guys after the loss. I remember what I felt sitting here midweek talking to you guys after the loss. And it was forlorn, heartbroken, numb. And today I feel very different. Today, at least, we've got something to build on now. I fully expect Salah back in on Wednesday, though. And again, whether that's the right or wrong decision, we'll wait and see. But I do think he plays Wednesday. Don't underestimate Sunderland. Real McCoy they are. Look, respectfully to them, or any newly promoted team, coming to Anfield under the lights, I would expect Liverpool to get that job done. And if we aren't beating Sunderland at home in the Premier League, we've no right to be looking up the table and talking about Champions League football. So I'm not underestimating them. I'm just saying, with the talent we have, we should be winning that game. And, if Slot doesn't win it, pressure's right back on his shoulders. Because all today's done is give him a slight reprieve. But you need to back this up now and build on it. Patrick said, I don't know if I'm alone with it, but this season we genuinely need to learn that we cannot depend our season on Mo like we did since he's joined. Of course, mate, I've been saying it for a few weeks now. Now, I'm not saying I've been saying it all summer or for the start of the season, but I've been saying it for a few weeks. I think we need to look to the future. And he kind of did that to some extent today, by putting WIRTZ back into the team, by putting Isak into the team. And that Isak performance reminded me a lot of many Mohamed Salah performances that we've seen, where he's kind of on the periphery of the game, on the edge of it, not really as involved as you want, but pops up with a moment of class, and that can be the difference. The way he took that goal today was a very well taken goal. Fair play to Cody, got himself a goal and an assist as well. But that's a good sign from Isak, because that was a very tidy, accomplished finish, is what I'd say. Pete, how are we? Pete said, it wasn't a powerful performance by any means. Some of them looked a bit leggy, Dominic included, but he still did his bit. I think that's fair, mate. I think that's fair. It wasn't electric. We didn't go blow them away. It was, bare minimum stuff. Got the job done. I am Mr. Nastastic said, what I don't understand is the fans who were hoping we would lose today just so Slot would get sacked. That to me is not a Liverpool supporter. Well, look, I'm not here to tell anybody else who is or is not a Liverpool supporter, but I will never want this team to lose, or any version of Liverpool to lose, to get a manager sacked. Never. Because every point is important, especially with the ambitions we have of making sure we've consistent Champions League football. So yeah, look, I'm not here to judge. Like I said, everybody has their own take, but I, in theory, agree with you that I could never bring myself to want a Liverpool loss just to get rid of anybody, a manager, a player, anything. I just don't want it to happen. Solid, sensible performance today, said Tracy Wyatt. Thank you, Tracy. Michael Manning said, hope Slot doesn't change the team too much for our next game. It's going to be an interesting one, because, a day to recover. He's not going to have too much time to work with them ahead of Wednesday. If I'm having a guess at it, I think you're probably going to see one change in the back line, and that'll be Robertson coming in. This is me guessing, though. Other than that, I think the back line stays the same. Into midfield, I mean, there may be a world when he puts Jones into midfield instead of McAllister, as an example. I don't know what some people have against Curtis Jones, by the way. I'm not saying he's brilliant. I'm not saying he's a regular starter or anything, but he made a difference when he came on today. And I couldn't understand some people still slating him. As soon as he got on, he was driving us forward. And he had a couple of lovely 1-2s in the middle that opened up a bit of space as well. And he never hides. He never disappears out there on the pitch. Love him or loathe him, he never hides out there. And he always shows the balls to want the football. So you could make an argument at home, again, keep him in there maybe instead of McAllister. And then up top, like I said, something along the lines of Salah on the right, Isak through the middle, and WIRTZ on the left. Paul Smith said, I fear Slot will go back to his old way, selecting Mo, playing Szoboszlai and Jones at right back. If he does that and the performances don't come, it's on him, you know? If he does that, mate, as we said, performances don't come, then it's on the manager. Then he's just asking for trouble. So, you know, he found a way to win today. He's got to build on that and not revert back. Itachi, how are we, sir? Finally, a goal difference of 0. Feel happy for our number 9. WIRTZ and Dom played so well together. Gomez also brilliant. Build up from this. Salah doesn't fit anymore. Respect to him. Stevie boy. Salah has had a shocking year, but Salah hasn't helped the situation either. Agreed. And I think today, Stevie boy, I'd be interested in your take on this, because you and I have both been fairly critical of Mo this season. I think with Gomez at right back, that will help Mo out a bit. I'm not saying it will cure everything, but I'd be interested to see if Mo plays on Wednesday, you know, what he looks like with Gomez at right back. Because today I thought Gomez made a big difference. We're going to win the league, Champions 21. I don't quite think so, Peter, mate. I don't quite think so. But look, we need to get some more wins together to get back up into the Champions League spots. You know, today was just one win. You know, let's not lose the run of ourselves. But, you know, still, as I said, a win is a win. Right, there's a few bits and pieces I need to go through. I want to start off with Lucas Paqueta, because I want to get your take on this. So Sky Sports put up a post of Paqueta talking himself into being sent off. And it was absolutely stupid from Lucas Paqueta. You know, he didn't get booked for a foul. He got booked twice in the space of a minute or two for mouthing off to the referee and got himself sent off. So Sky Sports posted to say, it's ridiculous behaviour. Lucas Paqueta is sent off from talking himself into a second booking. And then there's a quote tweet from, I believe, his account that said, it's ridiculous to have your life and career affected for 2 years without any psychological support from the Federation. Perhaps this ridiculous behaviour is just a reflection of everything I've had to endure, and it seems have to continue enduring. I'm sorry I'm not perfect. Now, I don't know what Lucas Paqueta went through emotionally, psychologically with the whole Premier League investigation. But I do know that what he did today was stupid. And you can't just suddenly blame everybody else for your own actions. Like I say about other people, if he's not right and he needs some help, I'm sure West Ham will give it to him. I'm sure that there will be some help there. And I'm sure he's probably going to pursue a case legally as well for that lost time, lost transfer and other stuff. But what he did today is on him and his shoulders alone. He had Jones, Alisson, 2 of our players even trying to get him away. But he talked himself into that red card, and it was his own stupidity. So to put that up there, I just think is not going to go down well with the West Ham fans. They would have wanted him to take ownership of that situation. I think I saw him booked for the foul just before the gobbing off. I don't think it was him that fouled. I think he was booked twice for mouthing off to the referee, from what I remember. But either way, absolutely avoidable. Absolutely avoidable. And he walked himself into trouble and then hurt his own team. Isak, speaking after the game, had this to say: we have to stay humble. One win doesn't mean we're back. We have to keep working. And he's not wrong. You know, it doesn't mean anything other than we do have to keep working. I want to take you through some of the earlier news today that we didn't get a chance to go through before the game. Emil Heskey was speaking about the current run of form, and this is what Emil had to say. The current run would see a lot of clubs sack their manager, but most of these wouldn't have won the title last season. Slot is looking over his shoulder, and the West Ham game is massive. Now, of course, we've since won that game. You heap more pressure on yourself the more games you go without winning while shipping goals, but sacking him, that's too drastic. He needs an opportunity to turn things around. I often wonder with these former players who are very supportive of the manager's position. You know, I sat there the other day looking at McManaman and Gerrard, and I asked myself, if they were in that dressing room, would they still be saying the same thing? Because I doubt they would. You know, if this run of forms was happening and those guys were in the dressing room, they wouldn't be happy with it. They wouldn't be happy with some of the decisions of the manager either. Sergio Aguero has had this to say on Florian Wirtz. I've no doubts he'll settle great players, and Wirtz is one, sooner or later settle and become vital in their teams. Which, again, I agree with. He also had a little bit to say about Mohamed Salah. He said, never doubt great strikers. Salah has excellent statistics, and I'm sure he'll find his rhythm. I think he's been affected by Liverpool's poor start to the season, but one player cannot do everything on his own. But he never did everything on his own. He did. Like, he scored a load of goals last season, but other people helped get him into those positions. Other people helped us get into attacking areas. So, let's not try to make out like we were a one-man team last year and Mohamed Salah alone carried us to the league. He scored a load of goals, but, there was a team around him. But, that being said, without Mo's incredible form last year, we probably wouldn't have gotten over the line. I just don't like the whole idea that it's a one-man team thing. So, Richard Hairy Hands Keys has been speaking about Liverpool's long-term managerial goal. And he said, I think long-term, Liverpool want Luis Enrique. I think there's little to no chance Paris Saint-Germain would allow that to happen. But maybe Luis Enrique harbours an ambition to manage in the Premier League. That's not going to happen now, so they may need a babysitter. So I think Keys thought that the manager is going to get fired. And look, like I said, if he loses on Wednesday, pressure's right back on his shoulders. And that's the problem that Arne Slot has now. Unless we put together a consistent run of form, and I mean 4, 5, 6 games without a loss, if he loses in the next 2 or 3 games, that pressure's right back on his shoulders. Those same conversations are happening. Only the next time, if there's a streak of 2 or 3 losses, I don't think he gets the time. I think he's now had his get out of jail free card, and he has to work from here. So we know Manchester City, as I've mentioned numerous times, are interested in Antoine Semenyo. Times Sport reports that City are considering triggering the release clause in January. Also, Liverpool, according to Paul Joyce, Liverpool have also been linked, though they had not planned to enter the winter transfer window after spending more than 400 million on new signings in the summer. On top of that, we know, where's the story about Romano? Where are we? 1 second. Yeah, this one. Fabrizio Romano has said, Liverpool have now held talks to understand the situation of Antoine Semenyo, and they are being well informed. Also, though, do keep an eye on Manchester City, as we've said. I mentioned this before the game earlier on, and I'd really be interested to get your take on it. So Sam Wallace, writing for the Telegraph newspaper, said this: the chief complaint from within the squad seems to be that Andy Robertson has lost his place to Milos Kerkez, with the latter yet to demonstrate that he is an adequate replacement. What are your thoughts on that one? Because Sam having that information kind of tells us that there's a leak coming out of the dressing room, or else he's making it up. And I don't think a journalist is just going to randomly make stuff up. Not somebody, working for a newspaper like Sam does. I can't see that happening. So I wanted to get your take on it, because I think today was probably one of, if not Kirk's best game since he's come in. But I would agree. I would be starting Andy Robertson up to this point at left back wherever we get a chance, because I do think he's been more steady this season. Salah is a big part of the problem. Also Jones. Now, genuinely, mate, I'm asking this question as a sincere question. How is Curtis Jones part of the problem? And I ask this because it's not like he's been playing every game this season. It's not like he's been the first team named down on the team sheet. Genuinely would love to know how Curtis Jones is part of the problem, because I don't see it. Curtis Jones has become a better footballer since Arne became manager. I don't. You ask Curtis Jones that and he'll tell you yes. I don't get it. You can say he's not good enough or not. Fair enough. But the problem, I don't get that. The real Johnny Sin said, Craig, I'm sorry, bro, for sounding negative in the watch along. It's just that now today's win just papers over the cracks. It's delaying the inevitable. It hasn't changed my stance on the manager, mate. But all I said is I can't bring myself to ever wish Liverpool to lose a game of football just to get rid of a manager. Because ultimately, I want Liverpool picking up points wherever possible. Does this save the manager's job long term? No. It's one win. And it's one win that he's got to work from and learn from. If he goes back, reverts to type on Wednesday, we see a similar team with similar patterns and it doesn't work out, then again, it's just going to come back on his shoulders. So, look, I get it. I don't think ultimately he's going to turn it around this season. I don't. But I'm more than happy to be patient if we keep picking up wins. Devon said, guaranteed City will make signings in January, especially if they smell blood. Arsenal are making sure they don't increase or maintain the gap. I expect City to go into the market in January as well. I really find it disconcerting that Liverpool hadn't planned to go into the market in January. I would have thought a centre-back would have been in the works one way or the other. Particularly since Giovanni Leone's injury. I would have thought the day he picked up that injury, that would have only underlined Liverpool's need and desire to go into the January transfer market. Billy Beckner said, Jones has been good this season. I'm not sure where the Jones criticism comes from. Mate, look, there are Liverpool fans who've made their mind up on certain players and never are going to change. Jones is one of them. Gakpo's another one. Before that, we had Szoboszlai last year. Before that, we had Jordan Henderson, Adam Lallana. It happens. And the part that really winds me up about it is I would have been totally on the Jones isn't good enough bandwagon until he started playing for Arna. And then he changed. And he's gotten better. I'm not saying he's good enough, but he's certainly improved. Jason Curry said, Craig, do you think Slot goes and we get Luis Enrique and PSG gets Zidane? Slot needs to win every game and Champions League to keep his job. I don't know what would happen if he gets fired. Truly, I don't, because I don't think Luis Enrique is going to leave PSG mid-season. If he leaves them at all, by the way, I have no idea. The Zidane thing, maybe the French job. But ultimately, like I said, this gives Arna a reprieve, but that's all it is for the minute. He's got to build from this and build on this. And if we don't pick up another 6 points this week, the pressure's right back on him. Not the quick attacking football I want to see, but I'll take the position of a clean sheet, WIRTZ and Isak looking much better, and smiles on faces. Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate you, bro. Our owners only tend to spend if we sell players. So would we sell to bring in a centre-back? No, not on a centre-back, because they tried to get that position sorted out in the summer. So they tried to buy Marquet. So no, the plan would be to bring in another centre-back at some point. But the one I think that may be a sell-to-buy situation could be Semenyo in, Chiesa out. That's what if we make a move for Antoine Semenyo in January, I fully would expect that Federico Chiesa gets moved on by the end of the window. Calvin Phillips, Jack Grealish and a few others had their careers destroyed by Pep. City won't be the right move for Semenyo, in my opinion, up the Reds. I agree, Brad. I'm not saying about the careers being destroyed part, but I agree with you that it's not the right move for him. I don't think he'd settle in and play as well at Manchester City. I think Liverpool will be a much better fit for him. Chelsea win that game with 11 men. The Arteta choke is inevitable and we will be there. Pray we beat them next week. We play them in 5 weeks too. I pray Villa beat them next week. We play them in 5 weeks too. Look, Arsenal have got themselves into a very good position. If Arteta doesn't see this one out and get them over the line, I think Arsenal fans should be very concerned then. Because right now, they're playing good football. They're very consistent. They're managing through some injuries as well. And you can see the squad they've built out is quite good. So there's no excuse this season for Arteta. None. If he doesn't win the league title this season, he's not going to shake that bottler tag. But I do think, for what it's worth, they will win the league this year. Unless there's a monumental collapse on the way. Because if you look at everybody below them, City have been inconsistent. We're very, 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 very inconsistent. Chelsea are still finding their way in, self-sabotaging a lot of the time with silly red cards and stuff. So I think just the consistency of Arsenal this year will be enough to get them over the line. Itachi said, "Man, it just feels so good to be here with you with a win in the bag. Much love." Definitely, man. Definitely. For the first time, I can actually watch Match of the Day in peace tonight. And, I haven't watched it in quite a while because I couldn't be bothered looking at us losing and hearing more talk about us losing. So, yeah, tonight's going to be a relaxing watch for Match of the Day, definitely. Right, so don't forget we do have a poll running and we asked you, has today's win changed your mind on slot? So the answers are yes, I am now slot in, no, I am still slot out, or I was always slot in. And we'll see which one has the most votes in a little bit. Salah won't play, the AFCON starts on Tuesday. No, it doesn't. The AFCON doesn't start till the 14th, I think, or maybe even later than that. I know they have a friendly against Nigeria, I think, on the 13th or 14th, if my memory's right. So I don't know when he's been called up to camp. I don't know if anybody actually knows the confirmed date for that one yet, because it was still kind of up in the air. And Manchester City are the same with Omar Marmoush. I don't know if either club have got the final release date yet. Why is Canade still in the team? Says a lot about him that Real Madrid have decided not to look at him. Because there's quite literally no other players, Duncan. And I mean that in a literal sense of the word. There are no other centre-back left. And it was risky today for the manager playing Joe Gomez as right back. Not because he's playing a right back, because he had every fit centre back out there on the pitch. So that was why Canade was playing today, because, as I said, there is nobody else available. And I actually think Real Madrid coming out and saying they don't want him has done us a favour, because it removes one lingering uncertainty around Canade. It's just one, but he still has to sort out the contract or go. But we've seen a better performance from him today, from Virgil today, and I put some of that down to the fact that Joe was beside them. Craig, this game we won is just a plaster over the big wounds. I'm not saying it isn't. Some people are jumping in, trying to have a pop at me over something. I'm a Liverpool fan. Liverpool have won a game of football, and I'm relieved. After that, I agree. It's just one win. I'm not saying that Arna's back, we're back. No, not at all. I'm just relieved, man. That's it. It's been a really dark few weeks. And, I was over for the game against United, my bucket list game, and they lost. Went another international break, lost before it, lost after it, lost midweek against PSV. It's been tough doing all these streams and chatting with angry, frustrated fans, because I'm one of you. I feel the same way. But today just feels like a bit of a relief, at least a break from the negativity that we're all understandably feeling. Patrick said Salah won't play. We've done that one already, mate. Sorry, that's on me. Right, let's go through a bit more of these reports. So Dean Jones of ESPN said, Canade had very much had his head turned by the interest from Real Madrid, and he was hoping to move to the Bernabeu. However, the Spanish side had other names they were now looking at alongside the defender, having withdrawn their interest. So this is quite a big claim. And the reason I'm bringing this Dean Jones comment up is because if he's right, then Canade's a shithouse. If he's right. Now, I don't know if he's right, but if he is, and I'm not the one saying it, he is, that Canade had very much had his head turned and was hoping to move. If that's the case, then he's a shithouse, because he has a contract offer there from Liverpool that he and his agent have seemingly been negotiating in good faith. If he wanted to move to Madrid, why was he wasting everybody's time? Because that isn't going to go down well. What Dean Jones has done there is just stir the pot a bit, because he's now said Madrid don't want them, so he may make do with Liverpool, basically. That's kind of where this is going. And I don't like it. And this is why I keep saying players like Canade that keep their mouth shut and don't come out and make a statement on these things, or, say, I do want to stay, but, the deal has to be right, or whatever. It leads to this. And as a Liverpool fan reading that, it angers me. Because if that is the case, then he can fuck off. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If Canade wanted to move to Madrid and didn't have the balls to say it, and his own shitty performances have fucked that move, then he should fuck right off, in my opinion. And there shouldn't be a contract offer in front of him. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You shouldn't need to be convinced to play for this football club. Simple as that. That's the way I feel, and I feel very strongly about it. You know, if you were like, oh, well, I'm off to Madrid, ha ha ha, internally, but then your own performance is shit the bed on that move, that's on you. Peter said, love Bradley, I really do, but we can manage a season with him and Frimpong at right back. We can't manage a season, with him and Frimpong at right back. Also, the referees in the Premier League are crap every match. I agree on the referees. And sadly, Peter, I also agree about Bradley and Frimpong. You know, say what we want about Trent. He was pretty much always fit. And Conor Bradley, like you, Peter, I rate him very highly. But you can't argue with the manager when he says that there hasn't been a situation yet that Bradley's been able to play 2 games a week for a prolonged period. And that could ultimately be his undoing. So, yeah, it's a tough one, you know, because nobody wants anyone to be injured. He doesn't want to be injured. But, you know, he's no good if we have another sick note, unfortunately. You know, no, you can't be great for one game every 2 months. You know, you've got to be able to be there week in, week out. The real Johnny Sin said, but Craig, what's the point waiting for the next 2 losses in a row to sack him when we know it's going to happen? You're saying it to me, bro, like I'm the one that's sacking him or not sacking him. You know, I just sacked him after Forest. So, you know, obviously the club don't feel that he's getting sacked or they would have sacked him. So, yeah, like I said, I'm in your camp. I don't think he's going to ultimately turn it around. But he won today. And, you know, the kind of general consensus is you win, you get a bit more time. Buys you a bit of breathing room. You know, so if it was up to me, like I said, I'd have fired him after the Forest game. If he really wanted to join them, then he got to go. Exactly. That's why I keep saying all these players that are saying nothing more often than not want to go. Have we not learned that yet? Look at the 4 contracts that we've had that are up. Actually 5 if you include Andy Robertson. But Robertson's addressed his and says he genuinely does know what his future is. And I believe that because it'll be down to whether the club offers him a new deal. But for Ibrahim Konate, we know a new deal was on the table. But he still wasn't coming out and saying he wanted to stay. Trent didn't come out and say he wanted to stay. The 2 that did last year got their new deals and stayed. So this is why I'm getting fed up with having to presume the best of everybody. Because it's very easy to say something like, I want to stay at this football club. The numbers have to be right. If we can get them right, this is where I want to be. It's not hard. But he didn't say that. You know why he didn't say it. I know why he didn't say it. And thanks to Dean Jones now, the whole fucking world knows why he didn't say it. Because he wanted to leave. And that, for me, should be enough to give him his marching orders. Just my take. You can say that that's cutting off my nose to spite my face, and you may be right. But you need to buy in from these guys. You need people who are fully committed and have no distractions, no wants to get away, no desire to leave for elsewhere. This is Liverpool Football Club. You should count your lucky fucking stars you play for this football club. You should be tripping over yourself to sign a new deal to play for this football club. Can't stand the whole contract saga. It just paints a giant cloud over the club. All we ever hear is player saga last season with Trentford. I agree. Dude, I totally agree. It's the one thing I think the club really have made a mess of. And that came down to the fact that we didn't really have a proper sporting director in during a very important time. So when Klopp decided he was leaving, all scrambles were then to get a sporting director and a manager in. And certain things, I won't say they're overlooked, but it's very easy for a player's agent to say, well, no, we're not going into negotiation for a new deal till we know who the new manager is. And then when the new manager comes in, kick it down the can down the road a little bit more by saying, well, we need to see how the manager operates. You know, if my client is in his thoughts, if he's going to play in a certain way. And Liverpool did this to themselves. So we need to take some of the responsibility on this, in my opinion. And for all the credit that we've given to Hughes and Edwards and stuff, they haven't gotten everything right. It's important we talk about that as well. James, how are we, dude? James Hart said, some very good performances from some players today. We should make Slot trust his squad. I'm off work tomorrow, so a few cans and watch match of the day. Love to all. Good man. Get them into you. Enjoy. Enjoy, bro. Enjoy. Right, so we've gone over 2,000 votes on this one. I'll leave it go a bit longer because I'm really interested to know what you think. So if you haven't voted yet, please do. We're asking, has today's win changed your mind at all on the Arne Slot situation? Warden of Wrath said, have been slot in, no way you win the Premier League and then suddenly a crap manager. I really want the team and Slot to turn this around, can prove their worth. Dropping out of form players is crucial. I can totally get where you're coming from, mate. I agree with you. And I've defended Slot against some of the crap that was basically trying to say that he was gifted a league title, that it was Klopp's team. I never agreed with that. Yes, a lot of the players he inherited and the style of play was there, but he still had to get us over the line. He still had to manage players. But you have to admit, though, mate, it is a bit disconcerting when he gets a chance to then start to put his own stamp on things and we look clueless. I have to say, that shook me. It did. That really, really concerned me. Because you would think if it starts to wobble, revert back, but he wasn't even seemingly able to rescue at that point. So that's what gave me a real concern for the manager. Itachi said, today was a little look into the future with Dom and Flo leading the midfield towards strikers. When fit, Isak and Ekitike has to start both. What formation do you think we played today? Just wanted to ask you that out of curiosity. What would you describe today's formation as, if you were to summarise it for me? Because I've been sitting back trying to figure this out since the game. Because at times I felt like we had two deeper lying midfielders. I felt like Maka was stepping back in to help out Gravenberch. So I would say it was some variation of a 4-2-3-1, personally. But I also at times thought maybe it was a 4-2-2-2 with WIRTZ up alongside Isak. So yeah, I couldn't figure it out between along the course of the game, and even thinking back over it, I'm still none the wiser, really. Warden of Wrath says, not playing Chiesa is the weird one for me. I agree, dude. I agree. It just feels like an agenda against the player at this point. Canada should not start for Luton at the minute, let alone Real Madrid, said Peter. Or would not start for Luton. So let's see on the formations what you guys are thinking. So there's a 4-2-3-1, 4-2-1-3. There's a 4-4-2. There's a 4-2-1-3, a 4-2-2-2. Couple of 4-2-2-2s, a 4-4-2. Out of possession, it looked like a 4-4-2, said John. Yeah, it was a tough one. This is one of the days I've really struggled. Struggled? Struggled isn't even the word, but I'm struggling here. Today was the day I struggled to really figure out the formation because I haven't got a clue. There was players moving around at times. Seeing WIRTZ's touch map kind of put to bed any fucking idea of him having a set role today. He was just popping up everywhere. So when we're done with this poll, I'm going to ask you the Salah question. So, right, we've got 250. That's more than enough. So 55% of the people that voted, we had 2,250 votes. Here are the results. So we asked you, has today's win changed your mind on Arne Slot? So, top of the poll was no, I am still slot out, 55%. I was always slot in, is second with 24%. And 21% said yes, I am now slot in. So, it's been some swing there, as you can see, but still the most voted for answer. And 55% of those that voted said that the manager should go. And they still want the manager out. So, thank you for being honest. Thank you for taking the time to vote. Okay, so the next question I want to throw your way is, do you think Salah starts on Wednesday? Yes or no? Angela, how are we? The match going fans gave their support to Slot today, sang his name throughout the game. I hope Slot makes all his fans eat their words. They did. No, they did sing his name. I only found that out afterwards, obviously, because I watched the match on silent. But I was reading the Echoes comment section and stuff afterwards. And look, one thing I will always say, Angie, about the travelling fans is they're incredible. Home and away. But sorry, travelling fans obviously away. But I mean, Liverpool fans incredible home and away. But the travelling Reds, they're always supportive of Darwin, of the manager. I've never really heard them turn. So it doesn't surprise me that they were singing his name all the way through, because deep down we want the manager to succeed. I'll sit here and say exactly that. But yeah, fair play to them. I'm sure that was helpful to Arna, and I'm sure it was helpful to the players as well. Dylan, how are we, sir? Hey, Craig, do you think there's any possibility we sign Rodgers or a midfielder like Wharton or Anderson in January? In January, absolutely not, unfortunately. In the summer, very much potential there for either of the ones you've said, Anderson and Wharton. Definitely keep an eye on them. Manchester City also very much in the mix for Anderson, from what I'm reading. And what was the other part? Do I think there's any possibility we sign Rodgers? He just signed a new deal with Aston Villa. So, no, I don't think so on that one. I think we bring in a centre-back and a wide player next, whether that's January or partly January, partly in the summer. But yeah, I do think the central defensive midfielder will probably be next summer, and I do think we make a move for one of the English lads. One swallow doesn't make a spring. I know, but it makes me happy. One swallow is better than our spit now. I couldn't resist. Sorry, do you know what I mean? The fruit was so low, dude, and I'm such a fucking child that I couldn't resist. Is it not one swallow doesn't make a summer, or have I got that one wrong as well? But one swallow is better than one spit, surely. Itachi said, looking into the future, my friend, what's your best starting 11 when everybody is fit, including maybe Gay and Semenyo? Leaving out Fede, he might leave. Oh, God. Semenyo on the right. I mean, how far into the future? Because at some point, they're going to be talking about Rio and Gamoa on the left. So, in the shorter term future, Semenyo on the right, Isak in the middle, Ekatike on the left. Midfield of the three that we spoke about, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch. Back four, Gay, Van Dijk, Bradley, Kirke / Robbo, something like that. Slot doesn't have the balls to drop Salah for 2 games. I don't know, dude. I don't know if he does. It doesn't. We'll find out Wednesday. Not knowing the formation is a good thing, Craig. The opposing team can't predict what formation we're playing. Did I not put WIRTZ in that team? Sorry, lads. I'm trying to read answer. Let me try and slow it down. I'll answer that question again. Sorry. Right, my 11. If Semenyo came in and we signed Mark Gay. Okay, let's think this through slowly. Alisson, Bradley, Gay, Van Dijk, let's say Robertson for now. Midfield, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, WIRTZ, Maka on the bench, Semenyo right side of attack, central Isak, left Ekatike. Sorry. Yes, when I have time to sit and think, I generally do better with these things. So yeah, that's roughly where my head would be at. Adrian, we only used 3 subs. We could have put Chiesa and Rio on once we went 2-0 up, but he always chooses to put them on when we're losing. Yep. He gives them garbage time, as I call it, mate, which is frustrating, to say the least. Craig's still thinking about that swallow joke. Do you know, Johnny, it's funny because you're right. Do you know what? Oh, God, I'm going to get in trouble for this. So, you aren't wrong. I was, but I was thinking, I don't ever recall a spitting incident, is what I'm trying to think about. Sorry, yeah, but you weren't wrong, mate. You weren't wrong. Your head's in the garbage like mine down in the gutter. Makes me laugh when people say hate coming from behind. I bet people don't. So again, is this a sexual joke or are we talking about football? Because you're going to get 2 very different answers depending on that one, Haley. Makes me laugh when people say the hate coming from behind. Come on. You're killing me here. You're killing me. You're killing me, lads. Come on. This stream's just going to be known as Spitgate now. You know, I'm not in control of these things. Is there any news on the young centre-back from Club Brugge? Joel Ordonez. He was definitely linked. Definitely linked. Thank you for bringing it back to football, mate. He's definitely been linked, but whether we push ahead or not, I don't know. Like, I couldn't sit here now and tell you categorically which centre-back, if any, we move for in January. You would like to think it's Mark Gay, but Joel Ordonez's name has been in the mix. And yeah, I don't know as of yet. Oh, God. To any parents that are watching or listening, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry with the direction this has gone in. You know, it is the late night agenda and all, but still. God, I need to tone down the camera colour, actually. I'm looking a bit too flushed in the face here. 1 second. Let me just bring this down a little bit with the old saturation. Hang on. Yeah, make me look a little bit more human. Sorry. Yeah, by the way, I'm such a prude when it comes to stuff like that. I'm not the guy who's, locker room talking. That ain't me. I'm such a prude when it comes to stuff like that. What happened to calling this stream the 100? I'm thinking of doing it when we get into the new studio. If we get into the new studio, I should say at this point, mate. But yeah, I was only talking to Connor about it the other day. It feels like the right time to introduce the 100 is when we move in, if we move into the new studio. And on that, I was thinking about it. What I'm going to do for the 100 is I'm going to start with a countdown clock from 100 minutes downwards to let people know where we are in the streams as well. And I think it might be easier for people as well to pinpoint moments from. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with the 100 if and when we move into the new studio. So it won't be the late night agenda anymore. It'll be tonight's 100. What's wrong with the progress of the studio? We got a cease and desist building letter is what's wrong with it at the minute, mate. A few bits of red tape we need to try to negotiate around. Yeah, unfortunately, I was describing it to people the other day, and yeah, it's a touchy subject at the minute. Ask me again in a couple of days. So happy for WIRTZ and Isak today, said Nathan. How are we, Nathan? Onwards we go. Fingers crossed, bro. Fingers crossed. And like you, yeah, delighted for the 2 lads today. And for Gomez as well. Do I prefer vanilla? God, no. Vanilla's boring as shit. Again, are we talking about sex or ice cream? I'm very confused. What's the 100? I'm going to rename the late night agenda the 100. And it's going to be a 100-minute long show that counts down So I've been looking back over how long I've been streaming lately. I used to stream for an hour, and then I streamed for an hour 15. And looking back over the length of time that I've been streaming, on average, for the last probably year, things tend to go around 100, 105 minutes long. So I just kind of thought to myself one day, just call the show the 100 and then count it down from 100 minutes to 0. Yeah, so that's the 100 idea. Zachary said, Craig, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Do you think Salah will continue to be benched for the game against Sunderland? No, I think he'll be back in. Wait, 105 minutes is average. Oh, Jesus, no. No, God, mate. If we're talking about that, YouTube Shorts would probably be my style. Or a TikTok at best, maybe. If you could sign any player from Europe, who? Good question. Probably Pedri from Barcelona. Or Yamal. One of the Barcelona boys. Pedri or Yamal. Probably Yamal, but yeah, one of those two. The 100 is a show on CW and it's pretty good. No, the cease and desist is regarding the build. It's got nothing to do. It's regarding the build in the back garden. It's got nothing to do with the show or any of that stuff. And it's more like, it's not a planning permission issue. It's a landlord issue. Anyway, do we sign Isak? I think it's looking good, Itachi. I think, there's a good chance he comes in. Good chance, mate. Good chance. TikToks can go an hour, Craig. Just saying. Well, that rules me out, dude. Put me back to the YouTube Shorts then, because your boy ain't going an hour in anything. Treadmill, in the bed, nothing. I mean, I probably had a couple of number 2s that have been in around that territory, maybe. This one's interesting. So, do you think Salah starts on Wednesday? It's a pretty close vote at the minute, so do have your say. Right, I want to read you out something from Arna Slot, speaking about Mohamed Salah. So when somebody said do a poll, I thought you were asking me to do a poll on how long I last in the bedroom. Honestly, when you said do a poll, I thought that's what you were asking for. I was going to think, like, how do I do this? All night, 3 minutes, an hour. Anyway, let me read you out this. Arna Slot, speaking about Mohamed Salah being named on the bench, said, I got this question a lot already. It's every time we play a game where I don't play Florian Wirtz, then I don't play Alexander Isak, then I don't play Hugo Ekitike, when I don't play Mo Salah. It's about that, which is normal because they're all outstanding players and Mo has had an unbelievable career here at this club. We'll have a very good future at this club because he's such a special player. 4 games in 10 days with only 14 to 15 outfield players available for us. When you have to decide once in a while to make a certain lineup, you try to pick the best lineup for every single game. Today, the way they set up, with a full-back that is constantly very high and a winger that is constantly inside, I thought this could help the team. Like I said, it's been so important, or he's been so important for this club and will be important for this club in the future. So basically just saying it was a short-term thing. Meant to ask, how's the wife after the shed drama? Still stressed, man. It's basically every penny we have wrapped up in it. And worst case scenario, it has to get knocked down. So, yeah, stressful, but I'm trying to just stay optimistic, in all honesty, dude. And just roll with the punches and see what happens, Ultimately, like I keep trying to say to her and everyone in the family, we're healthy, we're safe, we're here. Whatever happens, happens. We roll with the punches. We do it together. Right. I want to just go through some more. Oh, let me talk about the officials, by the way. The officials for Wednesday, Mark is always really good and post these in our Discord. So the officials for the game against Sunderland on Wednesday are as follows. Stuart Atwell is the referee. Konstantin Hadzidakis, the assistant with the sharpest elbows in the game, is referee assistant 1. Referee assistant 2 is Adrian Holmes. Fourth official, Dean Whitestone. VAR, Timothy Wood. And assistant VAR, Matt Donoghue. What's the shed drama? We were told to stop building, is the shed drama. Yeah, somebody dobbed us in, and that's kind of all I know at the minute, to be honest. And look, it's a sensitive subject, so I don't really want to get too much into it to say too much or too little or anything. Just at the minute, I don't know where we stand, is the honest answer. And I wish I had a more in-depth, positive answer, but like I said, if it worst comes to the worst and it has to go and get knocked, then, ultimately this could end up being my last season doing this. But I don't know, man. I don't know where we're at the minute. So I'm just trying to muddle through a few days at the minute, and just see, where each day leads to. Slot and Hughes are forcing a passive, slow possession for possession's sake setup that drains all the intensity from the team. It isn't bold, it isn't progressive, it's just average, said Three Kings. Sorry to hear this, my friend. So am I, man. So am I. I don't know what else to say. Obviously, I'm hurting. The family are hurting. But ultimately, we don't know the outcome. So we got to just plow on, with life and see what happens. Craig, I've got a new Shih Tzu puppy. His name is Bobby. Guess who he's named after? Nice. Mine's Harvey. Guess who he's named after? My French bulldog. Love to you and your family. So happy we won today. I'm sure you're absolutely head over heels with the new Shih Tzu puppy. They're smelly little fuckers when they fart. And they snore as well. A friend of mine used to have one and we were sleeping out in a tent one night when we were younger. And my God, that little Shih Tzu was snoring and farting like a mofo. Who reports a shed being built? Another council employee by the looks of it. Look, as I said, I don't know what else to say. I don't want to walk myself into trouble. So, it is what it is at the moment. I don't know what to. Do you know what the really sad part is? 4 days away from being finished. 4 days from the build being finished, I mean. And then it's, yeah. Have you popped a cherry in the shed yet? Honestly, I haven't set foot in it. I haven't even looked in it once. I'm very much the type of person that leave people crack on with something. If you have any questions, come ask me, and then I'll have a look when it's done, and we'll go from there. So I haven't set foot inside it yet. What's wrong with it being built? So any shed. So as you know, I live in a council house, and any shed, and I mean any shed, is supposed to get permission from the county council to put in your garden. Now, I did my bit of research, asked a few people who worked in housing maintenance and stuff, and looked around other council houses and estates, and nobody asked for permission. Every shed just went up. But my shed went up, and it became a problem, apparently. So I got an inspector around the other day to stuck a letter in the letterbox saying stop building. My argument is, why am I being held to a standard that nobody else is being held to? And the answer to that is I don't know. I don't know. There are bigger sheds than mine. Mine doesn't need planning permission, anything like that. It's all within less than 25 square meters, which is the rules. Everything is done properly. It's built by a building firm. It's built within regulations, fully insured people doing it. Everything is done above board in the right way. So it's not a planning application issue. It's simply the council saying you can build a shed. That's all I need them to say is, yes, you can have a shed. And because it's not a block structure, it was assumed we didn't need permission. But apparently you need permission whether you're putting in a garden shed or something my size. But like I said, there's bigger ones in my estate alone than mine. But I'm the only one that's been held to an account because somebody came to do some work on our house from the county council, didn't do the work, by the way, and reported us. And now it's all stopped and I'm losing thousands every day. Sorry I brought it up. It's all good, man. It's all good. It is what it is. I'm a real pragmatist in these type of situations. Give me these type of problems over a health issue, an illness for a family member. This shit is just life. It is what it is. It's just another little challenge, another little bump in the road. My family are healthy, and that means more to me than nothing else. Let us know if we can help you at all, bro. Appreciate that. Look, by the letter of the law, I probably should have asked for permission, but nobody does, and nobody did. And I grew up in council estates in Dublin. Again, nobody asked there, just built. The thing that might save us, and this is the argument that's being put across at the minute, is we're halfway through buying the house. So we're in the process of buying it now. And we've just moved on to the next stage of it. So we're just waiting on evaluation and then we buy it. If we buy it, it's no issue. So in the long term, it shouldn't be an issue, long term. But that's where we're at with it. And look, I have to respect the rules, like I've said before. It's up to me now to try to work with them to find a solution. But that's every penny I've had or have ever had sitting out in that back garden. And it's Connor's money as well. It is what it is. Like, my life's never been straightforward and easy. So, you roll with the punches. It's because you're a high profile celeb. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it is what it is. It's life. Like I said, people have bigger problems than that to deal with. And I'm healthy and alive. We had to get permission to put up chandeliers and interior door in my house. Yeah, but this isn't interior. I haven't ripped down any walls right in the house. So yeah, go see your MP, etc. We've already spoken. Like I said, look, I'm hoping there has to be some common sense at some point, because let's say they say knock it down. Cool, you knock it down, then there's a 21 foot by 12 foot concrete slab randomly just sitting there. So either way, it is what it is. And we'll respect the process from this point onwards. Fantastic view on the situation. Look, I had my moments the other day where I was annoyed and frustrated about it like anybody else, but ultimately, it blows over and you have to be pragmatic and start thinking about solutions. No point in sitting here being angry. You have to try and find a positive solution to it. But look, enough about my woes. That's not what we're here tonight to talk about. We're here to talk about the Reds being back to winning ways. I'm waiting to see, by the way, I am very optimistic that we do go ahead. I'm waiting to see the plans we have for the finish. If it all goes the way we hope it does, I think you're going to be really impressed with how it looks. And also, it's not just going to be for this. It's going to be a sensory room for Lucas to have, space for himself, because he's in the box room. So it's going to be a sensory room for Lucas to, let out his pent-up energy that he has as part of his autism and stuff. Look, like I said, it is what it is. Sport is very reactionary, relationships type thing. Would you take it? Excuse me. What would it take for you to change your opinion on Slot? Do you think everything is fixable? So you know what? I agree with a lot, pretty much everything you said there, mate. Sport is very reactionary, absolutely, 100%. The relationship type thing, definitely. What would it take for me to change? Um, it's a really good question. I don't want to give you a throwaway answer. Today's a step in the right direction. We'd want to be back. Look, we want to be backing this up with 2 more wins this week. Um, it's more the reaction from the players I'm looking for, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm wanting to see that they are still fighting for the manager, because that ultimately is my test for these things. If the players have given up, if the players aren't fighting for the manager or not listening, then it's a thankless task. But it seems like they're still responding. Didn't feel like that past few weeks, but today they certainly responded a little bit. But you do have to take into account as well the level of the opposition we played today, and they weren't great. Go away to the Giuseppe Meazza and beat Inter Milan away, and I'll be impressed. But beating West Ham away when we've beaten them by 5s and 4s in years gone by, that's not going to change my opinion. Some bold decision making, realizing that we need to look towards the future and build to the future. That's what I'm going to need to see. But I'm absolutely open to being won back over, 100%. Mike said, "Evening, Craig. Hope you're doing well. Just tuned in, so not sure what's been said, but big win today for the boys. I think Slot has bought himself some time, but still a long way to earn my trust again." That's kind of where I'm at, Mike. Kind of where I'm at. Everything is fixable and salvageable in sport and in a relationship between fans and a club and a manager or a player. Everything is fixable, but you got to see things changing. Whether it's decision making, whether it's style of play, whether it's the aggression we go out on the pitch with, whatever it is, you just don't want to see him doing the same things every week and it not working. And today, he made some changes. He rolled the dice a little bit by putting every fit centre back he had out on the pitch, and it worked. He rolled the dice by mixing up the attack, and it worked. But like you've all said, it is just one game. But I'll tell you what, it's so much better being on here tonight to talk about what we can build from here on, rather than have we hit the bottom yet? Because that was the conversation like over the last few weeks. Is this rock bottom yet? Have we steeped to our lowest yet? Gareth said, "I didn't see the game, but I heard WIRTZ showed up." Yeah, dude, he was brilliant. He really was. What even had United fans into the chat saying, "Shit, this is going to be a problem when he really hits the rhythm," because today he showed his quality. He did. He showed it by his link-up play. He showed it by his ability to find space. Yeah, it was certainly his best performance so far. Right, so the question was, do you think Salah starts on Wednesday? We'll let it go to 1,500 votes. We need about 125 more to go. So if you haven't voted, we really would like to know your thoughts. Do you think Mohamed Salah starts on Wednesday? I read this out earlier on, and again, it comes from Sam Wallace of The Telegraph. And it was around the idea of Liverpool going back to Klopp. And this is what Sam wrote. "Liverpool going back to Klopp, it feels like the kind of move clubs like them no longer make. Sentimental and also a bit desperate, even amid this extraordinary current crisis for Arne Slot. FSG President Mike Gordon, Michael Edwards, Julian Ward, and the rest will certainly not want to go back to Klopp." Now, I don't know if Sam means they won't want to go back to Klopp for personal reasons, or for the first thing he said, which is they don't want to go back to Klopp because it looks a bit desperate. See, I'd get it if that was the answer. If you don't want to go back because you think it looks like you have to go grovelling back to a man who saved the club before, I get that. But if it's your own ego that's stopping it, and it would be the right thing, then that's a different conversation. So I don't know what Sam meant by writing it. But either way, I never expected Jurgen to come back. I would have loved it because I never wanted him to go, same as everybody else. But I never expected it to happen. Doubled said, I think Mo starts, but I don't think he should. Yeah, I'm kind of in that camp. Mate. Yeah, I think he starts, but I don't think he should. That's pretty much where my head's at. I would resign. Is that resign or resign? I would resign Canade. Didn't fool me. Down tools get a move to Madrid. At his best, he's very good. So, I'm a spiteful asshole. Let me say that to start this conversation. I'm a giant gift. I'm a spiteful asshole. And for me, this feels like you're going. Here's my girlfriend analogy again. You're going out with a girl. She has her eye on another fella. See, I've switched it up this time. That other fella was flirting a little bit, but then he ultimately decided he was moving in another direction. And all of a sudden now I'm good enough. I would tell that person to go and shite and go fuck yourself. And I feel that way about the Canade situation. If what was written by Sam Wallace about him really wanting that move to Madrid, then I think he should be removed, booted out, adios, bye-bye, contract renewal offer, taken off the table. You made your bed, tough shit. But that's me being spiteful. Others might think, look, it's Madrid. Players flirt their eyes at Madrid all the time. They've moved on. It's understandable. I'm not that guy. I think you should be counting your lucky stars to play for Liverpool Football Club. And there is no better than this football club, in my eyes. So for me, if he wanted to go and his own poor form has cost him that move, then I don't want him. I don't want us to be his second best option. He should have been, in my opinion, out there proactively looking to stay at Liverpool. But we never heard that from him. If Bobby snores or farts, it's on the bench for him, said Angie. Oh, he will. He will. So does it annoy you guys if that was true? Would that change your stance on this at all? If you were John W. Henry and co now and you got wind that he really was planning on moving, but now all of a sudden that move's falling away, he's potentially open to staying. How would you feel about that as a sports club owner or a chairman or sporting director? Because remember, this isn't you or I saying this. This isn't some fan just making this up and running with it. This was written by a journalist in the Telegraph. And I'll read it out once again to you. My apologies. I owe an apology to the Telegraph and to Sam Wallace. This wasn't Sam Wallace. My apologies. This was Dean Jones of ESPN. My apologies. This wasn't you or me who made this up or ran with it. It was ESPN's journalist who said Ibrahim Konate had very much had his head turned by the interest from Madrid and he was hoping to move to the Bernabeu. However, the Spanish side had other names they were looking at alongside the defender, having now withdrawn their interest. That's shitty in my eyes. Would you sell Salah to Saudi Arabia for 100 million with incoming replacement? Do you mind me not answering that question until I put it to a poll? Because I will answer it when we run the poll result, because I think it's an interesting question and I don't want to corrupt the answer by giving it to you now. So, one sec. So we asked, do you think Salah starts on Wednesday? 53% say yes, 47% say no. So you can see there it's pretty close. So one sec. So, question I'm going to ask is, would you sell Salah for £100 million in January if we had a replacement lined up? I don't want to say to Saudi because it doesn't really matter at this point where. Would you sell him for £100 million in January if we had a replacement ready to come in? So let's just say, for argument's sake, it was Semenyo. But we also knew then Chiesa was going to stay as well. So, yeah. Who got man of the match? In Ervo, it was Florian Wirtz. And then second was Joe Gomez. I just sold them for 88 million in January on FIFA and bought in Elise, Misty. So we know your answer then, Misty. All right, you know what? Some people think 100 million is too much. That's interesting. But that was the question I was asked, so that's why I put it in the chat. So we'll stick with that poll on that number. Aaron said yes, but not to another Premier League club. So here's where I'd be at with that one, Aaron. For me, it wouldn't matter who you sold him to. But if he wanted to move to another Premier League club, that would be on him, if that makes any sense. So if you're saying here's £100 million, I wouldn't care where he was going. I wouldn't. Because if he wanted to go and play for another Premier League club and taint his legacy, that's on him then. But the sheer money, the sheer amount, yeah, I'd probably take it. We need to focus on the defence. We have ample going forward. I agree, Gareth, but it's really concerning when a lot of the chat, mate, is about Semenyo in January. I don't even think it should be a debate about what position we go for in January. 100% should be centre-back first. And then, if you have time, you can bring in Semenyo, grand. But in my head, mate, no doubt it's centre-back. That's the priority. Alejandro said I would definitely sell Salah for anything above 55 million. I want to ask as well, so remind me for the last poll, I want to ask your priority position for the January window. Remind me of that in a few minutes if I forget. He won't be worth 100 million by the end of this season, the way he's played. I don't think he's worth 100 million at any point because of his age, regardless. You know, would there be many 33 going on 34-year-olds in world football that would go for 100 million quid? Probably not, especially with 18 months left on a contract. Francisco Cortez, how are we, Francisco? Said, I'm happy with the win, but I'm just wishing it was more convincing. Also wishing the best to you and your fam. Hopefully on the shed is resolved. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. I think I agree with you. Happy with the win. It wasn't, a blowout performance, was it? We didn't destroy them. But, ultimately, I'm happy for a clean sheet and a win. Sonder. Say, I'm not going to lie, Gay won't play, but right back like Gomez today, and Wharton is coming in the summer, just missing a hard-working winger, Semenyo/Minta. Gay won't play? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean by won't play? Do you don't think he gets picked if he comes in? I think he'd walk straight into the 11. Saudi League will pay 100 mil. Oh, I mean, that would be the only league or area that I would say, yeah, they may. Jennifer, how are we, Jennifer? Said a lot wrong with Mo, mostly in his head. He more than anybody misses Trent's passing and connection. Loss of Diogo's really affected him. He's also out of form and just adjusting to new tactics. And I agree with everything you've written, Jennifer, by the way. But I think we have to throw into it, mate, and he's getting older and slowing down a bit more. We've got to be fair about that part as well. But you're right, especially the Trent part. I do think that's something that can't be overlooked. And that's why I said, Jennifer, I'd be very interested if he plays on Wednesday and Joe plays at right back, because then we've got a very good comparable, because he hasn't had that real right back support there this season. And with Joe Gomez there, if he plays like he did today, I'd be interested to see how Mo will get on then ahead of him. Mike Vico, how are we, Mike? Said, I hope we go for Gay in January, but I also look forward to seeing Leone return, as well as he's such a bright young centre-back. It'll be very interesting to see where Liverpool career takes him. So for me, mate, here's what I think happens over the next few years. I think in 2 years' time, we're talking about our back options being Leone, Gay. I think we bring back in Kwanzaa at that point, and we've probably brought through another young centre-back from somewhere. And I think Gay will become the defensive leader at that point. Leone will probably be his mainstay partner. But there could also be a world where we eventually do switch to a back three if we have enough quality centre-backs. I think Gomez probably moves on next summer. But yeah, I can see a future where we've got those options. Mark Gay, Jarell Kwanzaa coming back in the future, and Giovanni Leone. He won't play centre back. Oh, I think he would, man. I think he would. But I tell you what, wouldn't we both be happier if we got to find out, though? You know, that would be. I think we'd agree on that one. We'd be happier if we had a chance to find out. We need a Joe Gomez testimonial. Absolutely. I think he's got to the 10 years now where he's due one anyway. You know, usually it's the 10-year mark that a player will get a testimonial at, and Joe certainly falls into that category. Was it the right decision to give Salah a contract? So we talked about this the other night, and the general consensus was yes. I asked it a little bit differently. I said, with what you know now, would you have given him a contract? But at the time, I do think it was the right decision to give him a contract, because I think he earned that contract. Now, it's up to him to keep his standards up after that, but I do think he earned the deal. So I would say yes, it was the right decision to give him a deal. But it's not looking uber convincing now, is it? But I have to say, he did earn it. Gomez can't leave until he scores. Again, I agree with you, Gareth. We've been on the same page, mate, about a lot of stuff tonight. Liverpool interested in Ndiaye. Yeah, we spoke about that link the other night, Nikhil. I just don't see a world where it happens, mate. You know, Everton aren't going to sell Ndiaye to us. Can you imagine that? Moving into the new stadium, Everton fans have a forward that they actually like a bit. There's no way we're going to buy him off Everton. Ibrahim says the league title's still on. I mean, we're still only 2 wins behind amazing Arsenal. Are we not 8 points behind them? Let me just have a quick look at the league table, mate. I think it was 8 points. We're 9 points behind them. So 3 wins behind them, mate. So yes, we were a long way away. It's 9 points. Gay is a left centre-back in a back three. He would have to play right centre-back in a back four here. I'm concerned we might sign a player who doesn't fit the current system unless we move to a back three. I might be wrong on this, but I think he's right-footed. And if he's right-footed, he can absolutely adapt to play right side of a back four. You are right what you're saying about where he plays now, but I think he's right-footed. So if he's right-footed, I don't think it'll be an issue. Mark Gibbons said, love the show, man. Thank you. Appreciate your support, Mark. Thank you for becoming a member, mate. Gumi said he played right centre-back for England, I think. I don't watch the England games, mate, so I don't know. 7 wins for us, 9 wins for them, 25 more games to go, maybe, just maybe. I don't see it, dude. Look, I'd love it to happen, but I don't see it. You know, for me now, focus is on picking up wins in the Champions League, trying to push yourself into the top 8, although that's looking like very unlikely. You know, consolidate top 4 this season, get through to a respectable run in the Champions League, if not find form and go all the way, and then do as best we can in the FA Cup. I think that's the most realistic avenue here. I don't think we've any right to be talking about a title race. If we get ourselves back into that position, happy days. For me, the Man City game was the real decider there, because it made them close the gap to 4, and I think it pushed us down to 8 away or something like that. And we've only gotten worse since that with regards to how far away we are. Right, let's get this Salah vote up to 1,000, and then we'll ask the question that I've already forgotten, which I asked you guys to remind me about, but we'll ask you for that in a minute. So, would you sell Salah for 100 million in January if you got a replacement? We need about 300 more votes. So if you can, quickly vote on that one, and we'll finish up with the last poll of the evening. Chris Shaw said, can't underestimate how well Gomez played today, but it makes a massive difference when you have the players ahead of him actually tracking back and helping. Still not sure Salah comes in and does that. Again, very fair question, Chris, and we may get to see it on Wednesday. Oh, priority position. Thank you, Red Craig. That's the one. I knew I'd forget it. That's why I asked you to remind me. Stephen Reynolds said, if and when Gomez has his testimonial, who would you like to see put on a Liverpool shirt again? Would love to see Firmino score one last time, the Cop end. Yeah, that would be great. And us to get a penalty and Gomez to take it. That would be brilliant as well. I'd be giving him free kicks and everything, by the way, in that testimonial. Any free kick and shooting distance, anytime he gets a chance, I'll be sticking Joe forward for it. Who else would I like to see? Bobby coming back would be class. I'm just trying to think of who else Joe would have played for that maybe could come back apart from Gerrard. Elliot, wouldn't mind Elliot coming back for a run out as well. Actually, I'm really intrigued to see what does happen with Harvey in January. Jacob said, just seen the title. Of course he hasn't. We beat West Ham every day. Wait until the next formation. Well, that's why it's a question, mate. It's not a statement. It's a question, Jacob. And we ran a poll at the start of the stream, and 55% said that they're still Arna out. And the other two were split between changing their opinion from out to in and always being supportive of him. But we've also run a poll, Jacob, in our WhatsApp, and that poll as well shows more votes for him out. So that's still where the fans are at. By the way, if you didn't join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp yet, just scan that QR code on the screen, and that will bring you in. We put in transfer news in there. We give you polls asking for your opinion on stuff, and of course we put in the player ratings link as well. So all you have to do is scan that to join. Right. 800 votes or so. It's a landslide, so we'll just call it. 85% said yeah, and it wasn't going to change the result of it. So let's go with the priority position one for the last poll of the night. Right, so what position is the priority in January? Centre back. Defensive mid. Or a winger. Right, so centre back, defensive mid, or winger. Which position is the priority in January for you guys? Sonder said, I still doubt Slot won't have the same conversations if we lose one of the next two, or excuse me, won't we have the same conversations if we lose one of the next two or against another bad team? Just want Inzaghi. Love, Craig. Thank you, man. Look, I think you're right. Every win now has to be followed up with another one, because if there's a draw or a loss and a draw, All these same conversations keep coming back up. Now, if you lose away to Arsenal, fair enough, you could have lost that at any time of the season. But we're going to have to be beating the teams we should be beating. And I think any little mini dip now, pressure comes right back on. Because the goodwill's well and truly used up now. You've had your get out of jail free card. Shane, hey Craig, hope all's well. At least we won today, and we're technically above you lot. There's no future in the team we picked. So Shane, for you, as a United fan, what's your take on Arne? Do you think he should be given more time, or do you think he should be fired, mate, as a United fan, so you're not emotionally invested in this one? And I've seen your result. I've seen you won 2-1, and I looked at the stats from the game, but I haven't seen any of the actual match footage yet. I'm saving myself for match of the day. We have to win the next two as a must, Paul. I agree, Paul, 100%. I know Cara said 7 points from 9, and I understand where he's coming from because, that's still acceptable. But 9 points from 9 is where my head's at. If he loses one of these next two, so even if he wins 2 and loses 1, I'm still saying he needs to go at that point. If we beat Sunderland on Wednesday and he loses to Leeds at the weekend, then that's it for me again. Back to, no, you have to go. Has anyone seen Craig on Tunes? I've been on there a few times, mate. I wasn't on today, I don't think. I was on for the manager one, Arne Slot next manager thing, and I've been on a few other ones over the years, which is cool. It's so cool, honestly. It's the thing that has probably excited me most that I've been involved in. It's so cool. I love 4-4 tunes, and to know I've been in a small few of them, it's amazing. Braden Thompson said, thoughts on Kirkes today? I thought it was his best performance in a Liverpool shirt. I said something similar earlier on, Braden. If not the best, then right up there. World of Naturalist said, opposing teams have already said, glad we won. I mean, Slot will stay on. They're happy because they know we can be beat easily. Do you know what? I don't doubt that either. I don't doubt that. But look, as I said, I'm a Liverpool fan. I can never not be happy when we win. Michael Savage said, my daughter's just bought her first car, a Corsa. Nice. She's calling it Craig after you. That's class. She loves to watch you and ask me to post to get a readout. That's amazing. Well, firstly, congratulations on her first car. That's awesome. The first car I got Sabrina was a Corsa as well. But man, that's class. She named it after me. That's amazing. I hope it brings her many years of happy and safe, most importantly, motoring. But yeah, do say hello to her. Thank you, Michael, for letting me know. That's awesome. That's going to bring a smile to my face. Craig the Corsa. There you go. We'll take it. Just don't go around putting V plates on it. Does he have to be Inter too? Because there's a hungry, important game to get top 8. Or hugely important game. So I kind of said earlier on, Ollie, I expect them to win these games this week. But come back to me if we beat Inter. Because that would show me, yeah, we're coming back around. Because that, as you said, an important game and a tough game. So yeah, if we beat Inter, yeah, that's a very good indication. Because any time gone away to the Giuseppe Meazza or the San Siro is a tough one. We should play a 3-5-2 with Frimpong and Kirkes as wing-backs. We should bring in another, either Bastoni, Schlotterbeck or Bishek. So speaking about that, I ordered a new car for my daughter for January, actually. Yeah, we got her a brand new Dacia Duster, which, it's fairly... For a new car, it's fairly inexpensive for the price of new cars these days. But yeah, very proud daddy that and very proud mammy that we could, we got her... We got her a Renault Clio, a 191, so a 2019 one. And then she passed her driving test, so we got her a new car for January. She started a new job as well. And I'm very proud to be able to buy my daughter a car. And my wife is as well. Yeah, I never thought I'd be in that position to buy my baby girl a car, so I'm extremely proud to be able to do it. And she'll have a fucking newer car than me. Make that one make sense. Shane said Slot should be sacked. This season has been a joke. Amram also has to go. He lost me last Monday night, directionless and clueless against 10 men. Yeah, I get that, mate. When you're playing against 10 men and you don't win the game and you've got so long against 10 men, and the fact you didn't move away from his system in that game, Shane, would have annoyed me if I was a United fan. Because he should have changed up his system at that point. He didn't need to have as many men back as he did. And to not only that, but to go and lose it. Yeah, I'm with you, man. That's not great on Amram. And thank you for your take on Slot as well. Appreciate you. Paul, have a good one, bro. Have a good one. Did you see that Luis Munoz made his debut for under-18 Champions League as 13-year-old? Wow. No, I didn't know that. That's incredible. Do you think Gay would be in the starting 11? Yeah, I do, Jessica. Yeah, I would put him straight in alongside Virgil. Did Madrid lose tonight, by the way? I haven't had a chance to check the result yet. They were playing Girona, right? And Girona have been bang average this year. So they should be easily going there and beating them. Well, it was Girona they were playing tonight, wasn't it? They drew. God, that's not a great result. I don't think Alonso's going to last there. Does that take them off the top of the league now, or Barca back top of the league after that? Blizz TV said if we get Gay, Schlotterbeck and Canade stays, we play a 3-5-2. I'd love us to go to a 3-5-2 if we had enough centre backs. Like I've said before, I think all of our full backs would suit that system on either side. I think it would get the most out of WIRTZ as well. Roma were playing tonight too. The last I'd seen on that, they were 1-0 down against Napoli. That was the last time I'd seen the score in that game. Just before half time, I think I checked in on it. So does that make Arteta clueless from today's result? Not really. Not really, because of the manner of it. They got a draw out of it. And they came from behind to get that draw against 10 men and probably should have won it right at the end. And Chelsea are a far better team than Everton as well. We got to say that. And they were at home, whereas Everton were away. So, they had the home crowd behind them to G them up. They had a system that probably adapted easier to having 10. But, look, Arteta, in my opinion, is... I won't say a fraud, but there's been a lot of talk from the likes of Declan Rice that said if he wins a league title this year, he has to go down as one of the greats. The fuck he does. No, multiple league titles and a Champions League gets you in the greats category, not one league title. One league title doesn't get you into the greats category. And we're talking about greats, I'm talking about the greats, the Mourinhos, the Sir Alex Fergusons, the Jurgen Klopps. Would you sack Slot if Xabi got available? I wouldn't sack him just because of that. No, I'd never sack a manager just because somebody else became available. But if it coincided with another run of poor form, then yes. But I wouldn't, if let's say we win 3 in a row and then he gets fired. No, I'm not then saying to Arna, off you pop, mate, because I think that would be unfair. Esther said, Slot can go. We have a new manager. Welcome, Xabi. He would make a better manager, an ex-Liverpool player, to win. Replace Maka with a 6. I think, Irfan, that is more likely to happen. Because I do think if we bring in a 6, we don't have space in the midfield to carry everyone that we have. So I think what you said is very possible. If we bring in a Wharton or an Anderson, we may end up selling McAllister. Braden said, "What's your opinion on Jones? I think he's scapegoat. In all honesty, I think he's been top 3 performers in our team. He should start over the likes of Maka." I definitely agree on the scapegoat thing. I said as much at the start of the stream. Look, I was somebody who didn't rate Curtis Jones up until Arna came in, and then I seen an improvement in him. But some people just won't acknowledge any good he does. I'm not saying you have to say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but he's improved. And today, when he came on, again, I think he pushed us on. So he wouldn't be in my starting 11 week in, week out, but I do think he's gotten better. Joe Gomez said, "There's a massive expectation at this club. You got to feel the weight of the shirt and do your best for the badge. We know that. We've been just as disappointed as the fans, but the main thing is we're all in it together. We can feel that." Good stuff from Joe. Xabi turned us down once. That makes a second choice. He was never offered the job though, Christina. That's the no. Look, I don't know if he was sounded out, but I'm trying to just live in blissful ignorance and say it was the fact that we didn't want to move systems that meant we didn't really push. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm trying to tell myself anyway. Rafael Sanchez said, "I just hope Arsenal slip up now. Can't have them winning the league." I don't know, lads. If we don't win the league, I really don't give a shit who wins it. But if Arsenal win it, I think, as bad as their fans are going to be, isn't that what football's supposed to be about? Because I was unbearable when we won the league. I dare say a lot of us were on social media or around our mates. If you win the league here, you're entitled to be an asshole or unbearable. Your thoughts on Slot's treatment of Rio? Confused, Matthias, because we've not brought in somebody to replace Diaz, but we've also not given the minutes to Rio. So we fucked ourselves, is how I look at it. Because we were told we don't want to block the pathway through. But that's fine if he's ready. But if he's not ready and we're still not bringing in somebody, that causes us a problem. And I think not using Rio is causing us a problem. So that's my take on it, mate. We were told that we weren't blocking the pathway. We assumed he was going to get chances. He hasn't yet. Craig, I really do feel we have a chance at the league. Sounds deluded, but I have a sneaky feeling second half of the season. I mean, I wish I had that optimism, Dylan, but unfortunately I don't, mate. Maybe four wins after this maybe turns me around, but for now, I think we shouldn't be talking about a title race at this point. Sonder said Camavinga plays left back, centre midfield, both back at Robbo replacement. Look, I'd love Camavinga. I think he's an excellent footballer. Would love him. David Brennan, Craig, you're a good skin. Keep being you, pal. Great channel. Thank you, man. Means a lot. Really does. All the kindness that people show means a lot. So something about me, David, is I'm so insecure, mate. I feel like I've got imposter syndrome sitting here, seeing the size of the channel. I feel like I don't deserve it. So, little reassurances like that mean a lot. Irfan said, "Honestly, Arsenal's team is that good. If they win one, they're lacking in confidence, get over the line." They're a really good squad. They are. Not attacking enough for my liking, but that's Arteta's style. But they have put together a very deep squad. I'd seen one mad link. What was it? correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I swear I'd seen a link saying that Manchester United were going to go after Fede Valverde. Um, I don't think I clipped it up from my notes, but I'm sure I seen an article somewhere that said Manchester United are go after Fede Valverde. Biggest Liverpool channel out there. Don't be daft. I get it. Like, I get it, but I just tell you how I feel, man. I've always felt this way. I feel like someday people will wake up and go, "Oh no, he is actually shit." But look, I'm very grateful to be where we are. I also like that I'm this way because I'm never going to get complacent, if you get me. I feel like if you stay hungry and you stay humble, it's good because you're always going to work for that approval. The scan said, Craig, you work bloody hard. Don't put yourself down. The channel's fantastic. Keep going, and don't never let your anxiety get the better of you. Easier said than done. I understand. Ah, no, look, thank you, man. That's lovely. Yeah, there are things I'd still like to achieve. Things I'd still like to do. I want to do stuff outside of football as well because there's other things I'd like to start talking about and having a bit of fun with. Um, I'll be really honest with everybody. I have a big chip on my shoulder. And I have done for a very long time as a non-local because we've had to work harder than anyone to get here. And I don't know if I speak for others, but there have been times before I made content, just as a Liverpool fan, you almost feel like your opinion doesn't count. Now, I'm not talking about with everybody, but there are so many people who look down their noses at people who don't go week in, week out, don't live in the city. And I've always felt like there was a huge opportunity for somebody to speak on behalf of the people that don't really have that platform. And that's what the whole idea was with us starting this channel. It's, there's great coverage from the local point of view. You've Redmen, you've the Anfield Rap, you've got many others who very, very succinctly and very professionally cover life as a Liverpool fan for a match-going fan, week in, week out. But we always wanted to be the voice of the people who don't have that opportunity to go week in and week out, who don't have, that credential, if you want to call it that. Because we always said we don't want to judge anybody, where you're from, how long you've supported the club. We just want you to come in and be yourself and have fun. The Anfield effect. Thank you, bro. That's really lovely of you. I'm from America and I'm headed to my first Liverpool game against Brighton. I'm going to Dublin for a couple of days. What should I do in my free time to explore? Oh God, Dublin's great. You don't if you want to stay in and around Dublin, you'll have loads to do. Like, go visit Croke Park, do a stadium tour there if you can. Go visit the Guinness Brewery, of course. Yeah, it depends what you're into, but there's loads of great restaurants as well. Like, my favourite is Tomahawk Steakhouse. That's the one where we'd go to whenever we're up in Dublin. Catch a couple of shows. Some good comedy in Dublin as well. It really just depends on what you're into. But my one piece of advice if you're in Dublin, avoid Temple Bar because it's an absolute tourist trap and you're going to get fleeced. Everything is too expensive. The pints are ridiculously expensive. It's just a piss take. So Wexford Street, Camden Street, that will be my suggestion. Barados said, I'm a Liverpool born and bred and totally agree with you. Outsiders have to try harder. Much appreciated. I've spent my whole time wanting to win over Scousers. That's been it from day one. Not the club, which sounds really ironic, right? Because you should think I want to win the club over, but I don't. I want to win locals over because I love the city and I love Scousers. They're so similar to us Irish. So I've always wanted, if I can be accepted by them as a reputable um, representation of a fan, that means the world to me. And I've been so blessed that when I have gone over, especially when we do our live shows over there, you know, Scousers show up and always have a kind word, and that's what gives me the confidence. Like, because I love the city, I love going over, I love the people, and I don't, the club are never going to recognise me because I'm so outspoken. I kind of made peace with that to some extent, but when you get, a pat in the back from some of the match going fans of the locals, it does mean a lot. Gareth said, I'm from Cardiff, live in Newcastle, support Liverpool for over 30 years. Sweet. And I said I fell in love with Liverpool when I was 8 on my own, kind of stumbling into watching Liverpool-Arsenal game that we lost 2-0 when they won the First Division title, and that was it for me. I don't have a story where my dad brought me towards Liverpool. I don't have any brothers and sisters, so I kind of just found my own way to support the club, and it's been such an immeasurable part of my life since I've been 8 years of age to now. Like, it is, outside of my family, without a doubt, the most important thing to me. Bransfield said, hey Craig, just got tickets to see Guns N' Roses in Dublin next year, so I'm finally coming over, seeing the whole family for the first time in 6 years. That's awesome. So cool, man. Guns N' Roses, now there's a blast from the past. I hope you have a great trip. And again, I'm sure you will enjoy Dublin, but bring your wallet because it's expensive. I'd rather Semenyo over Rodrigo, said Irfan, 2-footed and no ego. And Premier League proven. Don't forget that part as well. And physically more imposing. Yeah. I like Rodrigo, but I think I agree with you on the Semenyo fit. Could I ask, how did losing make you support a team? Yeah, it's a question that I've kind of wrestled with myself over the years. What got me was I was captivated by the stadium, the fans, the colours, and respect. Like, they stood there and they applauded Arsenal winning a league title at our gaff. And there was something different about it. It felt like Liverpool was different. And then as I got a little bit older and I started to look into the history of the city and the emigration from Ireland over to Liverpool, the boat used to go from Dublin to Liverpool. That would be the first port for people to set foot on UK soil when they're emigrating from Ireland. And I just, got to know about the history of the city, the Irish influence on the city. It just made those bonds even stronger. But yeah, it is a weird one. I granted, like, when I tell people the story of how I started supporting Liverpool, it is a weird one, but it's the truth. What are the reports on Jeremy Jacquet? Is it possible for him to begin a red? I don't know, mate. I'd have to look into it a bit more for you if that's okay. Yeah, sorry. Any update on that person's date? Oh, the first date the other day? No, I don't know. I was trying to figure out what you meant at first. I don't know, is the honest answer. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to start winding this one down. I can't believe it's been 2 hours already. That's flown by. So, we asked you guys, what is the priority position in January? We're 40 votes shy of 1,000, so if you can, do vote for me, and we get it up to a nice round 1,000. So 40 more votes needed. A reminder as well, if you haven't, please do join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp. Scan that QR code on the screen. That will bring you right in where you will see a poll at the moment on the manager situation. We'll be giving you jersey leaks for next season, transfer news ahead of January, and of course the Anfield Agenda player ratings polls go in there every match day as well. So you can submit your player ratings. Right, we're nearly there now. We're about 20 votes away. Itachi said, for me it was Fernando Torres. Nice. Do you know what I got myself the other day for the office, if I ever get into it? I got a Rio Ngamoa signed shirt. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging that one up as well. Do you think we might see a touchline argument like we did with Mo and Jurgen? I hope not, because it doesn't benefit anybody when stuff like that happens. But um, I'm always kind of torn when a player is unhappy getting taken off, because one, you don't want them to be happy coming off. So as long as it's not too disrespectful, I never really mind it, because you don't want to see a player happy coming off the pitch. You want to see a player disappointed that they're coming off. Right, we need 5 more votes, and then we've got it. We've got the 1,000. Craig, Gay and his work ethic, his attitude, I want him. And Semenyo is the same after the racial thing, the class he showed. Yes, I want him. He could be the next Mane. So I was really impressed, Jason, with the way he handled that scumbag, giving him racist abuse at Anfield. I thought the way he spoke about it and the way he had showed such grace meant a lot to me. Like, Anton Semenyo showed so much class in that moment when he didn't have to. You know, he could have rightly been very pissed off about it, because that person, yeah, look, scumbag. Don't know what else to say, but yeah, I agree. He showed great class and grace. Right, so 88% of you guys said centre back is the position, and I'm right there with you. I think that's a no-brainer. You've gone defensive mid as the second most important and winger as the third. So look, ladies and gents, that's it for tonight. Connor should be back with a morning video for you tomorrow. I will have an evening video coming out about 4:30, 4:45. We're recording the Anfield Agenda podcast tomorrow, so that should be out tomorrow night at 10:45. And of course, I'll be here for the late night agenda as well. Thank you so much for all of your support again today and tonight. Really appreciate you.